Hey everyone, we've got a really interesting deep dive for you all today about this whole idea of manifesting.
Oh, yeah,
Like
makes
when
sense.
people say you can achieve your goals just by believing in them.
Yeah, just by thinking it into reality, right?
Exactly. It's been getting a lot of buzz lately, especially with all the craziness in the world these past few years.
It's like everyone's talking about it these days.
It really does. So we wanted to take a closer look at this whole concept.
Yeah, for this deep dive, we're using this really fascinating article from Psychology Today.
Okay.
It's called Manifesting.
Catchy.
Yeah, right. And it digs into like all the different aspects of this idea.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is manifesting? I mean, is it just wishful thinking with a fancy new name?
Well, it's definitely more than just that. The core idea is really rooted in what psychologists call magical thinking.
Magical
Yeah,
thinking.
basically like the belief that our thoughts can directly influence the world around us.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's closely tied to this idea of the law of attraction, which suggests that, we attract experiences that align with our dominant thoughts.
So, if you're constantly thinking positive thoughts, good things will happen.
Exactly. Or, on the flip side, if you're always dwelling on the negative, well, you're more likely to attract negative experiences.
Okay, I see. So it's like you're putting out a certain energy into the world, and then the world mirrors that back to you.
That's the basic idea. And while it's true that having a positive outlook can be beneficial,
Yeah.
some of the bigger claims about manifesting don't really have much scientific backing.
Okay, so maybe not as straightforward as some people make it out to be. Then, what are some of the potential downsides of relying solely on manifesting? Could it actually backfire?
That's a really important question. One risk is that it could lead to a passive approach to achieving goals.
How so?
Well, you might find yourself just wishing for things to happen instead of taking concrete steps to make them a reality.
Ah, so it's not enough to just sit back and visualize. You actually have to put in the work.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of research showing that people who believe in an internal locus of control,
Internal locus of control.
yeah, meaning they believe their own actions influence outcomes, they tend to be more successful.
That makes sense. But what about self-fulfilling prophecies? Can't believing in something strongly enough actually make it happen?
Right. So self-fulfilling prophecies definitely exist, but they're not as simple as just thinking something into existence.
Okay.
Like imagine you're convinced you're going to fail a test, right? You might not study as effectively, which could then lead to a lower score.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it wasn't your belief alone that caused the failure. It was the actions, or in this case, inaction, that stemmed from that belief.
Okay, so your expectations can influence how you approach things, but they can't magically change reality. I guess there's a danger in thinking you don't need to take any action at all. And what happens if you put all your faith in manifesting and things don't go your way? Wouldn't that be pretty rough on your self-esteem?
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest potential pitfalls of relying too heavily on manifesting.
Yeah.
If you truly believe that the power of your thoughts is the only thing standing between you and your goals, then not achieving those goals could lead to some serious self-blame.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Yeah, you might start thinking, I didn't believe hard enough, or my thoughts weren't pure enough. And that can be a really slippery slope.
Yeah, it could lead to a lot of guilt and shame.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Which can then spiral into even bigger issues like anxiety and depression.
Wow, that's a pretty sobering thought. Okay, let's shift gears for a sec and talk about manifesting in a particularly sensitive area, health.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I feel like that's an area where things could get especially risky.
You're right to be concerned about that. The article touches on the dangers of manifesting in health contexts.
Okay.
It talks about this historical mind cure movement.
Mind cure movement?
Yeah, basically this idea that you could cure illnesses just through willpower alone.
Mm.
And while a positive mindset can definitely help with healing, rejecting medical treatment and relying solely on belief can have devastating consequences.
Yeah, even life-threatening.
Exactly.
So even if you believe with all your heart that you're healthy, you can't just ignore a serious medical condition and hope it goes away on its own.
That's a recipe for disaster. You always need to seek professional medical help when you need it, regardless of how strongly you believe in the power of your thoughts.
It's a good reminder for everyone. And another area where manifesting gets a lot of attention, especially lately, is wealth.
Oh yeah, the whole manifesting abundance thing.
Exactly. I mean, the idea of attracting financial abundance is definitely appealing in these uncertain times.
It's understandable that people would gravitate towards those ideas when things are tough economically,
Yeah.
but the idea that financial struggles only happen because someone doesn't want wealth badly enough or believes strongly enough is incredibly misleading.
So just wishing for $1 million to magically show up in my bank account probably isn't going to work.
Probably not. Financial success is complex and usually involves a combination of hard work, smart planning, and yeah, sometimes a little bit of luck.
Okay, that makes sense. So if manifesting isn't the answer, what are some more realistic paths to success? Is there a way to find a balance between positive thinking and, actually taking action?
That's the million-dollar question. The article suggests that instead of focusing on magical thinking, it's more helpful to focus on self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy.
Yeah, which is the belief in your own ability to achieve your goals.
So it's not about believing something will happen. It's about believing you have the power to make it happen.
Exactly. And that belief is the fuel that drives you to take action. There's a ton of research showing that people with high self-efficacy are more likely to set challenging goals, stick with them even when things get tough, and ultimately achieve more. It's not about magic, it's about recognizing your own potential and putting in the effort to make things happen.
Okay, that's starting to make a lot more sense. So we've talked about the potential downsides of manifesting, but are there any positive takeaways? Is there anything valuable about the approach, even if we don't take it literally?
Absolutely. I think it's important to acknowledge that while manifesting on its own might be flawed, it does highlight the importance of a positive mindset and the power of belief in shaping our reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about denying the need for action, but recognizing that our beliefs can either help or hinder us in achieving our goals.
So it's not all bad. It's about finding that sweet spot between belief and action, right?
Exactly. And some of the practices often associated with manifesting, like journaling, can actually be quite beneficial even outside of that context.
Journaling. How so?
Well, taking the time to really clarify your goals, identify those limiting beliefs that might be holding you back, and visualize the outcomes you want. Those can be powerful tools for personal growth, whether or not you believe in manifesting.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, something I've always wondered about is the connection between manifesting and positive affirmations. Are they basically the same thing?
That's a good question. And while they're often lumped together, there's a key difference. Manifesting is really about believing something into existence, while affirmations are more about boosting your self-esteem and confidence.
So with affirmations, you're not trying to conjure something into reality.
Yeah.
You're more focused on changing your mindset and building your belief in yourself.
Exactly. And there's actually a lot of research showing that affirmations can be really effective in helping people develop a more positive self-image and strengthen their belief in their own capabilities.
Oh, wow. So even something as simple as repeating phrases like, I am capable or I am worthy can have a real impact on how we approach challenges.
It sounds simple, but it can make a big difference. By reinforcing those positive beliefs about ourselves, we can start to overcome self-doubt and approach challenges with more confidence and resilience.
This has been a really insightful look into the world of manifesting so far. We've explored its appeal, its potential downsides, and even some of those more nuanced aspects.
Right? We've seen how seductive the idea of achieving goals through sheer willpower can be, but also how relying on belief without action can lead to disappointment and even harm.
But as you pointed out, there are some valuable takeaways from the manifesting approach, particularly when it comes to understanding the power of positive thinking and self-belief.
It's all about finding that balance, a positive mindset combined with concrete action, recognizing that true success requires both.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to unpack. Stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into manifesting right after this.
So before the break, we were talking about this whole idea of self-efficacy.
Right, that belief in your own ability to make things happen.
Exactly. And it sounds like that might be a more effective approach than just kind of, hoping and wishing for things to change.
Definitely. And to be honest, I'm really intrigued by this whole self-efficacy thing. Can you tell me more about how it actually works? Is it something you're just born with, or can you actually develop it over time?
Well, it's a bit of both. Actually,
Wow.
some people might naturally have a stronger sense of self-efficacy,
Okay.
but it's definitely a skill that can be learned and strengthened, kind of like building a muscle.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we go about training our self-efficacy? What are the key exercises?
And one of the most effective ways is through experiencing success.
Okay.
Every time you achieve a goal, whether it's big or small,
Uh-huh.
it reinforces that belief. in your own ability to get things done.
So even those small wins can like add up and make a big difference in how we see ourselves.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's so important to actually celebrate those wins, no matter how small they might seem.
Yeah.
Taking the time to acknowledge those achievements, even the ones that seem insignificant, it helps to solidify that feeling of, I can do this.
That's a great reminder. But what about when things don't go our way? Setbacks are a part of life. So how do we maintain that strong sense of self-efficacy when we face those inevitable roadblocks?
That's where resilience comes in. People with high self-efficacy, they tend to view setbacks not as like personal failures,
Right.
but as temporary obstacles that they can overcome.
Yeah.
They're more likely to like step back, analyze what went wrong, learn from it, and then adjust their approach for next time.
So it's not about like avoiding failure altogether. It's about learning how to bounce back from it.
Exactly. It's about reframing failure as an opportunity to learn and grow, rather than as like proof that you're incapable of succeeding.
It really is a powerful mindset shift, but it's easy to talk about, resilience and self-efficacy in theory. How can we actually put those ideas into action in our everyday lives? Like any practical tips?
For sure. One thing that could be really helpful is breaking down those big, intimidating goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed by this huge goal, we can just focus on those smaller milestones along the way.
Exactly. That way it feels less daunting and you get to celebrate those mini victories as you go, which, as we said, helps boost your self-efficacy.
I love that. Any other tips?
Another one, surround yourself with supportive people. You know those who genuinely believe in you and your potential.
Yeah, I can definitely see how having that kind of positive reinforcement from others can make a huge difference.
It really can.
Hmm.
Those words of encouragement, those votes of confidence, they can help validate your efforts and strengthen your belief in yourself. And the opposite is also true. Like if you're constantly surrounded by negativity and doubt, that can really chip away at your self-confidence over time.
So it's not just about the work we do on ourselves, it's also about the company we keep.
That makes a lot of sense.
We've talked a lot about the potential downsides of manifesting, but before we move on, I'm curious, are there any aspects of manifesting that could actually be beneficial if we combine them with a more like realistic, action-oriented approach? Can we take the good without the bad?
Absolutely. Like the practice of visualization, for example.
Okay.
It's often linked with manifesting.
Right.
And it can actually be a really powerful tool for achieving goals.
So you're saying that just vividly imagining yourself achieving a desired outcome can actually increase your chances of making it happen.
Exactly. And it's not about magic or anything like that.
Okay.
It's about training your brain for success. By mentally going through the steps of reaching your goal, you're essentially creating a mental roadmap for your brain to follow.
Interesting. So it's like giving your mind a sneak peek of what success looks and feels like. What about gratitude? That seems to be a big part of manifesting too.
Yeah, gratitude is huge.
Right.
And cultivating gratitude is so powerful. And it honestly has benefits, regardless of whether you believe in manifesting or not.
Okay.
Focusing on the good things in your life, no matter how small, can really shift your whole mindset to one of abundance and possibility,
Yeah.
which can be incredibly empowering.
It's about appreciating what we do have rather than dwelling on what we lack. I love that.
It is. And that shift in perspective can have a huge impact on how we approach our goals and how we deal with challenges. It's about moving from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance.
I'm really enjoying this conversation. It's so interesting to unpack all these different aspects of manifesting and see how they connect to these bigger ideas about personal growth and achieving our dreams.
It has been a fascinating exploration. This interplay between belief and action and the power of the human mind is just incredible. We've covered a lot, but there's still more to delve into. Let's continue our deep dive into manifesting after we hear from our sponsors.
Okay, so we're back. And before the break, we were getting into visualization and gratitude.
Right, those practices that people often connect to manifesting.
Yeah, but they seem like they could be helpful even if you don't totally buy into that whole, think it into existence thing.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
These tools can definitely help create a more positive mindset,
Right.
but it's not about using them to replace taking action. It's about using them to support your actions.
Yeah, they can give us a boost and help us stay focused, but they're not like magic wands or anything.
Right. It takes effort.
Yeah, there has to be intention behind it too, right?
Definitely. You need a clear and focused intention to really make things happen.
So intentionality, that's about being super clear on what you want and then making choices that line up with that goal.
Exactly. You've got it.
And how does intentionality fit in with manifesting? Can you combine those ideas in a way that works?
I think you can. Like when you bring together a clear intention
Yeah.
with things like visualization and affirmations,
Yeah.
you create this really powerful synergy.
Uh-huh.
You're not relying on magic. You're
Right.
consciously putting your energy and focus toward what you want.
So it's like taking the best parts of manifesting the positivity, the mental preparation,
Yeah.
and then combining that with an understanding that we still got to put in the work.
Exactly. And that's super important. Manifesting is often presented as this passive thing,
Right.
but it's really about actively shaping your reality through action. There's like a partnership between your mind and your efforts.
Okay. I like that. So we've got action, self-efficacy, intentionality. Anything else that's crucial for reaching our goals?
The secret ingredient.
Yeah, if there is one.
I'd say it's persistence.
Yeah.
You know, the road to success is rarely a straight line.
Right.
There will be setbacks, obstacles, self-doubt.
Yeah.
It's about having that grit to keep going when things get tough.
So it's not about never failing, but about not giving up when we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it means trying a different approach, getting some support, or even just taking a break to
Yeah.
recharge before tackling it again.
That's a good point. We don't have to be perfect. We just got to keep trying.
Keep showing up.
I like that. And success usually comes from those small steps taken consistently.
It really does.
It's not like those overnight transformations you see in movies. It's about creating lasting change.
And all of that brings us back to one of the key takeaways from today.
Okay.
While positive thinking and believing in yourself are super important,
Yeah.
they work best with focused action persistence and a realistic view of what it takes to reach your goals.
So it's not magic. It's the right mindset plus the right actions working together to create the lives we want.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Awesome. Well, this has been a truly insightful look at manifesting.
It really has.
We've explored all the ins and outs, debunked some myths, and discovered some really valuable insights about belief action and the power of our minds.
And I think the biggest takeaway is that while manifesting alone may not be a magic solution,
Uh-huh.
those principles, when combined with a grounded approach, can be amazing tools for growth and achievement.
So as we wrap up, we encourage you to keep thinking about this. Consider the role of belief and action in your own life.
Yeah.
And see how you can use these mental tools to create the reality you want.
It's not about waiting for things to happen.
It's about making them happen.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to be the best version of yourselves.